Hello everyone and welcome to Gunforce, a small run-and-gun shooter originally in arcades, and now it is on your Super Nintendo Entertainment System. We're going to kill these guys up here as quickly as possible so they won't shoot down at us. This game appears to be heavily inspired by Contra, but I've played so little Contra in my life. You could tell me this was based on any run-and-gun in existence and I would just believe you. We want to kill that Jeep before we even attempt to platform up to the higher levels, because otherwise it will shoot us down. We can't platform fast enough to escape its wrath. That guy with the turret can easily be faked out to shoot above or below us because he's not very smart. And up here there's a guy in a reinforced turret, but he can be killed just as easily by our methodical approach to this game that comes with having mostly memorized it. It is only 15 minutes long, what did you expect? Almost every weapon in this game or vehicle can be commandeered by us, but not all of them are useful. This turret is not particularly useful. We can shoot infinitely spawning enemies with it, but we have a time limit, so let's not do that. You may have noticed that we have auto fire, or maybe you didn't notice because it's hard to notice, but we picked up that auto fire from an earlier enemy. The item pickups are semi-consistent, let's say. I've played this game enough that I know that some items spawn in the same place. The laser gun on this Jeep we're using absolutely wrecks shit, but if a bullet hits us directly, we die instantly, so we need to get off of the machine so we can shoot this guy faster. Our Jeep won't kill him fast enough, and he will shoot us out of the Jeep, and we will die. We die in one hit. We're also going to get rid of these guys next to the chopper with our goofy climbing animation, so we can get in a much better armored vehicle. I mean, I don't know if it's actually better armored technically, but it's less easy to die in this thing. We can move in any direction in this helicopter, but we can't fire in a different direction than we move in, because this is a Super Nintendo game. Twin-stick shooting was not a thing. After a certain point, the helicopter inexplicably stops moving and we have to get off. I get that they wanted the rest of the level to be done on foot, but they could have at least put a barrier there or something. We have the bazooka. The bazooka is the best gun in the game. It kills the bosses really fast and can fire through multiple enemies. In case you're wondering why the enemies on the ground aren't shooting us, they do eventually fire single bullets, but it just takes them a really long time. Now we are approaching the boss. We have to kill a few more foot soldiers first. I have long forgotten what this boss's attack pattern is like, because I just spam the bazooka at it as soon as the boss starts, and it dies really fast. And that's it for the first stage, but we're gonna do this all in one video. It's a short game. Welcome to Stage 2, home of crates and flamethrowers, and that's the thing I remember most about it. If they would have just had a couple more guys guarding the front of the base, I think they would have gotten me. So now we're introduced to enemies that take multiple hits even from the bazooka, but they don't appear often enough for us to worry about or even consider them an actual threat. They take forever to fire. I want to get in this minecart. The hit detection for getting in vehicles is a bit iffy. The minecart though is pretty fearsome. It has the same laser cannon as the Jeep. We could have gone upward to get new weapons, but I really wanted to use the minecart instead, because one of this game's highlights is that it lets you pilot a lot of vehicles, and by a lot I mean like 4. But the game's only 15 minutes long, give it a break. Now we have the flamethrower, and it's a flamethrower. It hurts a lot. It's not as good as the bazooka, but it does of course benefit from being able to fire constantly, and I think we died for the first time just there. Like I said, we only have one hit, but this game gives you plenty of continues and lives. They probably could have only given you a single continue, and I feel like most people would still be able to finish it because you only have to memorize 15 minutes of gameplay. This is a pretty faithful port of the arcade version though, so it being this short isn't really its fault. This one doesn't have a gun. I mean, we have a gun, so we can just act as the minecart's a gun, I guess. But it would be more sweet if it had a turret. But there's another one with a turret right here anyway. You know, 12 to 15 minutes is a reasonable length for an arcade game. There's some arcade games that are over an hour long, and nobody has time for that in an arcade. We're already approaching the boss again. Again, they should really have more people guarding these gates. It's like, what, 2 guys? And they weren't even looking toward me. So this is the boss I am the best at. I'm super good at this boss fight, because all you have to do is stand in the corner and jump over the shots. The guys that appear in the windows will throw grenades at you, but we only need to kill the 2 that spawn in the corner next to me, and then jump diagonally and shoot at the big eye in the center. And I can do that. I can do basic pattern recognition. This boss fight takes way less time if you have a gun that actually does stuff, but we have the basic gun. We don't even have auto fire. I'm mashing the button right now. I think normally I have the flamethrower when I get here, which makes the boss die significantly faster, as you can imagine. But the bright side to this is that you can see how good I am at this really simple boss fight. I'm so good at this. I'm a pro player. Look at how good I am at this boss battle. You beat Super Contra on a single life. Pff, that's nothing. I beat Gunforce. Gunforce's difficulty is so unreasonably high that I'm sure the people who bought this game and finished it in a single afternoon felt completely justified. This game's difficulty is so incredibly high that myself, as someone who is terrible at 2D action games, can still beat it. You know, I've never been able to beat Metal Slug 3. I don't know why I can't beat Metal Slug 3 if I've beaten Gunforce, honestly. Welcome to Stage 3. Sometimes one of these first enemies will spawn with a grenade launcher drop. Sometimes it will not, and I don't know why. I'm sorry, I meant rocket launcher? Bazooka? Whatever, the bazooka. The thing that fires the blue bazooka shots. This level also introduces enemies that explode when we touch them, and their main purpose is to run at us. They look like they have bazookas of their own, but I've never seen them fire them. So as far as I know, they're just suicide bombers. We could have taken the upper path, but as we already have the bazooka, which is the best weapon in the game, I see no need for that. My methodical playstyle fits this game rather well, I think, because we have to move really close to the right of the screen to scroll it, and I don't like that. That's one of the things I like least about 2D games. There's a guy on the ledge over here to the far right that we want to kill before we use the trolley, because otherwise he'll shoot us down, and after we're on the trolley, we can just shoot up at the other enemies. So I think we're all clear, but there's one guy over here I forgot about. You might not have even seen his bullet. I know I didn't. We get another bazooka for our troubles though, so nothing too important was lost. This level has a lot of trolleys in it and reminds me of a level in Metal Slug where there aren't trolleys, but it's a cliff and you platform upward in it. Of course you fight O'Neill at the end of that level, and you do no such thing here. These trolleys have a laser gun similar to the one on the Jeep and the minecarts, so they're pretty powerful, but we don't fight many enemies in them. In case you haven't noticed, we don't stay inside vehicles very long in this game. Speaking of O'Neill in Metal Slug, I wonder if Gunforce has any lore. Like, the Metal Slug series has an absurd amount of lore to it. Like, there's no need for Metal Slug to have a deep lore or character motivations or anything like that, but it does. You fight O'Neill in every game, even though he supposedly dies every time you fight him, and that's just a normal video game thing, right? But Metal Slug's lore justifies it by calling him immortal and fluff material, and supposedly the only reason he keeps living is his desire to see his family again after the battle's over. We'll have to continue. This fight, not too difficult. Hardest thing about it, all the soldiers that pop up and try and shoot you. Very easy to lose track of them and their bullets in the process, because there's just so many. This stage is called the Enemy Fortress, but don't let that fool you because this is not the final level, that's the next one. I take an incredibly unorthodox approach to taking out those 4 enemies right there, but they don't see you coming fast enough to do anything about it, so it's always fun to screw with them like that. This first section of the level is remarkably easy. There are very few enemies, and it seems a little out of place. I mean, the whole game is remarkably easy, which is why I'm playing it for you right now, because if it were difficult, I wouldn't be playing it at all, because it would be too hard. I would give up. These flying enemies are really lazy about firing at you. They will do it eventually, but they fire so slowly. It's very unlikely that you'll get hit by them as well, because just like the yellow enemies, they fire in one solid direction. This section of the stage has enemies that run out of doors and spawn constantly, but just like most of the other foot soldiers, they fire so infrequently that it's not worth worrying about. And we can duck under their shots, which is why I constantly have my gun pointed at the ground, because even though it looks stupid, that's the quickest way to switch from running to ducking position. My favorite animation will of course always be the one for climbing ladders, though. It's pretty great. The music in this game, I don't know if you can hear it very well, but it's not worth talking about. If the music weren't actually here, I'm not sure I would notice a difference. It's already time for the next boss battle, and the first phase of the boss battle really easy. We just jump or move diagonally to avoid the slow-moving shots. We have a moon jump also, which makes it a lot easier. Most difficult thing about this part of the boss battle, the hit detection on the gun's really precise. You have to stand in just the right spot. Firing diagonally is a much easier way to hit them, though they get a less constant stream if you do it that way. That's really all there is to say about this part, though. Even I can dodge all these. Even I can dodge all these. So this boss fight has two phases, and it's the only one with two phases. The second phase of the boss fight is my favorite boss fight in the game. I can still do a reasonably good job of avoiding the shots, but it's the hardest boss fight for me. The thing is that if you've played run-and guns or you're a fan of run-and-gun games, this pattern probably looks really easy. Like, this is a fairly standard run-and-gun boss pattern. There's nothing particularly remarkable about it. I just feel really good when I manage to dodge all the shots, even though it's not difficult. You do have a moon jump. Gunforce really feels like baby's first run-and-gun, which is ideal for me, because as previously mentioned, I am terrible at 2D action games. So this is more my speed. This is the kind of stuff I can do. See, I died 3 times on this boss battle. This is about all I've got. Welcome to the final level, and this one is a lot harder, and the music is a lot louder, but the music is just weird instead of exciting. But like I said, it is a lot harder. They have a lot of snipers this time instead of just a few by the gate. Of course, now that I know they're there, I can just shoot them ahead of time, as one does with these run-and-gun games. We meet our first formidable vehicle here as well, the tank, and we can't actually take the tank for ourselves, but it can take a lot of bullets. So we stay on the far left of the screen and just plug away at it with our auto-fire until it goes down. The auto-fire, again, is a power-up, not something you have by default. I would comment more on the tank, but it's really as basic as a strong enemy can get. You just stay to the far left of the screen and shoot, which is the most embarrassing thing one can say. You know, Gunforce is not a great name. There's nothing else named Gunforce, in spite of how generic Gunforce sounds. This guy just won't die. Apparently my bullet spawns in front of the gun instead of actually coming out of the barrel. This elevator section is really easy. They don't fire quickly enough to kill you. The elevator moves too quickly for that. If I were paying attention, that death would have been entirely avoidable as well, but you got to see me clip through the floor, so that's neat. One of the most interesting things about this stage are these little tiny drones. They spawn infinitely, so we just have to shoot them and then run through while we can. The hit detection for the ladders is very generous, so it's definitely possible. And the second interesting thing about this stage are these guns that come out of the wall. Unfortunately, as with many things, I have found a way to beat them in the laziest fashion possible. If we just run straight to the left from the top, then they will never be able to shoot us. They always fire at an awkward angle. Most of my experience with playing arcade games has been at a movie theater before the movie starts, because you need something to do, because you arrive there early. And usually they have light gun games and just light gun games, but sometimes they'll have a Gunforce or a Justice League Heroes beat 'em up, which I actually got to play, and I'm glad I got to play it before I died, because there's no way to emulate that game. It's not a good game, though. If I would have thought ahead of time, I would have brought a camera or something, but there was no way for me to know that that cabinet was going to be there. Also, it costs like $1 to play. Oh hey look, it's the mech. The mech is invincible as far as I know. There's like no way to get hurt in this thing. So I guess it's just a really brief power trip, but the power trip is already over because this door right here cannot be passed with the mech. We have to get out. So I wonder what the mech was even for. This was the shortest power trip in video gaming history. It didn't even last as long as an invincibility power-up. It's by far the coolest vehicle in the game, and it can even jump, so it just seems like such a huge waste. Yeah, there are infinitely spawning enemies to shoot at, but if you actually want to complete the level, you have to get out. This game doesn't have too many questionable design decisions, like you can see the clear idea behind everything, and most of it pans out. But I don't understand what they were going for with this at all. And now it's time for the final boss, and I haven't bothered memorizing the final boss's patterns at all. Because it's the final boss, and we still have a whole continue left, and we have a bazooka, so it's gonna die. We're gonna kill it really quickly. When I first beat this game, I was like, oh, this is like a fake-out boss before the real final boss, right? Because it just seemed too easy to me. I mean, the most surprising thing about it is that the tiny mutants shoot at you. And that's it, the game's already over. Thank you guys for watching, it's fun enough. It's fun enough. This video is really just here because I needed something quick and fun to do while I'm recording a lot of footage. I have so much footage to record.